Welcome. This is Ann McGuire with Arena Solutions Product Marketing. Today, we're going to discuss how 1-factory empowers quality control professionals. Next, we'll talk about how 1-factory and Arena together simplify quality processes from development through production, especially for companies using complex and distributed manufacturing processes. Nipun Girota, founder and CEO of 1-factory, is joining us today. Welcome.
Hi, Ann. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Nipun, I wanted to get started with why you founded 1-factory.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. That's a very, very good question. As you can see kind of on this first slide up here, you can see there's an image of a part. And any part or product is typically made up of many different features, right, or parameters. You can see on there, there's some diameters, some radiuses, some flatnesses, and so on. So a few years ago, I was running a manufacturing plant where we were buying over 100,000 unique parts, and each part had anywhere from 10 to 1,000 features that needed to be controlled. And what I discovered was that it was very difficult for both me as the product manufacturer and my suppliers who made my parts for me. It was very difficult for both of us to kind of control quality at the feature level. And the tricky part is that quality control is always at the feature level. Any one of these features, if they're built incorrectly or not to specification, can make the machines that we're building not operate correctly or fail early or cause other types of issues, including safety issues for our customers. So I kind of looked at that problem and I thought maybe there's a better way to kind of solve this problem or work through this problem. And I started to kind of draw up a sketch for what eventually became 1-factory.
Great.
Do you want me to tell you a little bit more about what we do at 1-factory?
Yeah, I was interested to know some of the challenges that you face with quality control that you solve.
Yeah. So as I was describing, that we were buying almost 100,000 unique parts, right? So every part has its own drawing, its own specifications that need to be met. So now when you have 100,000 parts, and let's say you have just 10 features per part, well, that's 1 million features for which you need to control quality. And if you're in a what you call a high-mix manufacturing environment, right? So in that environment, the product configuration changes frequently, and therefore the parts that you buy are different every time. And so now for your suppliers, what that means is they have to build in small batches, they have frequent changeovers, and that makes quality control very, very challenging, right? So if I were to kind of boil down the problem to a few lines, it's how do you control quality for like hundreds and even thousands of parts, right, with tens to thousands of features per part. And then how do you do this within your own factory? And then how do you do this across your extended supply chain? So we had at the time nearly 600 tier 1 suppliers that we had to work with. And every part that we bought went through at least one tier. In most cases, they actually went through 2 tiers of suppliers before they got to us. So we had to figure out how to do this not just within our factory, but across also our extended supply chain. And you won't believe, but kind of the standard around the world is still Excel and paper. So data is being collected either on paper or in Excel, and then if it's on paper, it's transcribed to Excel. And then as a buyer, if you want the data, your suppliers are sending it to you via email, right? So the process is very reactive. If you have a problem, you have to call up your supplier, right? The data is not available on demand. Then they have to go look for the data, send it to you. So there's a lot of time lost in just trying to find the right data to then solve the problem. And
wow.
And the consequences are very expensive. So there's, of course, kind of what I noticed in my factory was that we were losing productivity. We were wasting time. So, and I'd say in some cases as high as 50% of labor time was lost in resolving quality control problems. You know, a part that comes in but doesn't fit in assembly, or a part that actually fits, but then the machine gets to final test and fails in final test. So now you have to troubleshoot, figure out where the defect is. You know, in some cases have to disassemble the machine, get a replacement part, reassemble, retest, right? That's how you lose productivity and lose, actually you end up wasting a lot of capacity, which is impossible to recover. And then, of course, there's the cost of defects, right? So bad quality, kind of has many obvious costs, including scrap, rework, but also there's the impact to your customer of those defects, right? Your machine might not operate as well as it should, so your customer sees kind of a deteriorated performance, or it may not be as reliable, and then it fails, sooner than it should. And then those kinds of things then drive up your warranty costs, right? So it's all of these things that kind of start off deep down in your supply chain, but end up with an impact all the way to your customer. So, what I thought I'd do is kind of walk you through a little bit more about the problem, right? And kind of why it is such a hard problem to solve. So if you look at kind of the modern supply chain, right, there's increasing complexity in the supply chain. I think up until the 1980s, maybe, companies were making things mostly in-house. Over time, a lot of manufacturing started getting outsourced, in some cases for cost reasons, but in many cases for just technical capability reasons, right? So you started to end up with an extended supply chain. So to bring any product to market, you need a supply chain, and that supply chain is now increasingly complex. You have multiple tiers of suppliers, and now you have a globally distributed supply chain. You also have increasing product and process complexity. So on the product complexity side, customers are more demanding, they want more features, which results in more parts, more variants, and so on. And then there's more, everybody is demanding more, and that drives a lot of complexity. And finally, there is, one additional level of complexity, which is regulatory and customer compliance requirements, right? So if I'm in a regulated industry like medical devices, I have a lot of compliance requirements that I have to meet, right? And similarly, if I'm in some of the more, if I work with customers in the automotive industry or the semiconductor industry, I have customer kind of compliance requirements to meet also. And, like I described, it's a two-sided problem, right? I can't get to market successfully without my suppliers. And what I found when I was starting up 1factory was that it's actually a two-sided problem in the sense that if the suppliers cannot do quality control effectively and efficiently, then the buyer will not be successful. Right? So the first thing we need to do is help the suppliers. And if the suppliers can do things efficiently and effectively, and if we can layer onto that visibility so the buyer can see the supplier's quality control processes and data, then we can solve this problem. Right? And if we go a little bit deeper into what the supplier's problems are, kind of what I discovered in my last job was my suppliers were struggling with data. They were struggling with capturing data, managing the data, with the analysis of the data and the reporting of the data, right? All of these things were being done in inefficient ways, right? And, quality control, like I described before, has remained kind of paper and spreadsheet based. And on the buyer side, as the buyer in my last role, my challenges were kind of how do I communicate the requirements to my supplier, right? How do I make sure they have the right controls? How do I make sure that those controls are actually being followed, actually data is actually being collected and analyzed? And how do I provide them with the analytics so they can start solving these problems, right? Or how can we work together to solve these problems? And so if we can kind of create this shared understanding of and shared visibility into the quality control data, then we are more likely to solve problems earlier in the product development life cycle or in the manufacturing process. And yeah, like I described, so at 1factory, what we do is we help both the supplier and the buyer, right? So in other words, we help you do quality control both within your factory and across your supply chain. And if you use 1factory inside your factory, we help you simplify and speed up your quality control tasks. And if you're a buyer buying parts from across the supply chain, we give you real-time visibility into your supplier's data. And again, the goal is to help you discover these problems early in either the product development life cycle or in the manufacturing process, and also allow you to collaboratively solve problems. And kind of our overriding goal or mission is that we want to help you ensure quality at source, which may be deep down within your supply chain or somewhere within your own factory. Okay. Yeah, with that, Anne, I'm going to kind of give it back to you. But before I do that, let me actually talk a little bit about how I view the Arena to 1-factory integration. So we partnered with Arena because Arena, as you know, provides product lifecycle management tools. And there's a very important linkage between the product lifecycle management tool and the quality control software. And so when a part's design is changed, right, and an engineering change order goes through a PLM system, that change order has some associated tasks with it. And one of those tasks typically is to update the quality control documentation, right? Now with 1-factory, your inspection documentation and your quality control plans will always be in sync with the Arena engineering change orders, right? So if you have a change order in Arena, it's going to sync up really well with the quality control plan in 1-factory. So an engineering change order will drive a change to the plan in 1-factory. And similarly, if you have your quality non-conformance processes or your corrective action processes built up in Arena, 1-factory will populate those processes with data from inspections, so you can continue to run your non-conformance process, your corrective action process through Arena, right? So our goal is to kind of help you, kind of give you, kind of link the product lifecycle management solution, which is Arena, with 1-factory's quality control solution, so that your product lifecycle data is always in sync with your quality control data, and it's tied back in real time. Yeah, and with that, I'm going to hand it back to you, Anne, to talk about the Arena, kind of give an overview of Arena, please.
Let me introduce Arena. Since inventing Cloud PLM, Arena's offering has grown to a product realization platform that over 900 high-tech and medical device companies use around the world. What Arena does is it eliminates infrastructure barriers for sharing product information, and it also manages changes to that information. This is the most comprehensive approach for teams to introduce new products to market with fewer errors through better visibility and enhanced collaboration, especially collaboration with supply chain partners and external design partners. This leads to better business decisions as you design and release new products. The diagram you see here is how we fit into your organization. Arena manages the complete product record, which includes all the information you need to build, test, and improve your product. And today, the elements we're going to really talk about are the engineering change processes and the quality processes like 8D, CAPA, and nonconformance. We work with other solutions in your organization to speed accurate information throughout the development process. From the left, we integrate with the tools used to design and describe your product. On the right, we integrate with the products that use the information that we manage. So for instance, the ERP, when we release a new design, the bill of material, item master, all gets electronically uploaded to the ERP so they can plan and purchase with the latest designs. And then in the upper right-hand corner is 1-factory, where you see our integration points are the inspection plans and quality control processes, which are managed in Arena. And when I say managed in Arena, as the design revises, these documents have to revise too. When the product changes, the inspection plan, for instance, has to change. So when we have a new inspection plan, that is used by 1-factory. And then going in the other direction, when 1-factory detects a quality issue on the factory floor, that can be escalated to Arena, where it can be reviewed by quality assurance and engineering if necessary, and all that information is becomes part of the product record. This slide is a quick show of why so many companies use Arena. This is what happens if you don't have Arena. The product record is distributed over many disconnected silos, and different roles in the organization have access to only some of that information, and no one gets, it's really hard to pull together a complete picture of the product record. And just overall, the impact of the disconnected silos, well, it impacts the people, it impacts the data itself, it causes slower and less, more error-prone processes, which also, which would all result in lower than optimal products. Maybe the quality might be impacted, or maybe you don't get all the features that you want to market on time. And all these problems impact the business with increased cost, reduced profits. If one of those poor quality products makes it to market, you'll have customer issues, which will eventually lead to lost market share. This slide lists the top EMS and component distributors that are using Arena around the world to collaborate with their customers and then also their supply chain partners. There are other suppliers and EMS providers using Arena around the world, but this is just to focus on the top ones. So let's take a look at 1factory and then the integration with Arena, and as we do that, you'll see how products together simplify quality processes. Okay, Nipun?
Thanks, Sam. Yes, thank you. Okay, so imagine that a quality control person has 5 or 6 things that they have to do on a daily or weekly basis in their jobs. Their work typically begins with what's called quality planning. And in quality planning, they define what is it that they're going to measure. So in this case, it could be a counter bore, a diameter, a depth, a flatness call out, a torque, right, or some sort of force measurement. So what they're going to measure, the specifications for that characteristic or parameter they're going to measure, then how they're going to measure it. So what's the inspection method, what are the work instructions, and then what kind of are the rules. So what, for example, are the sampling rules or the inspection frequencies they will follow, right? And that, all of that defines what's called the quality control plan. And on the screen here, you can see that in 1factory, we begin our work also with the quality control plan. And so with the quality control plan, you can start by defining your controls, right? And also you can share those controls with, or share that plan with your suppliers. Or if your suppliers have created the plan, they can share that plan with you. Right? That way, you always have visibility into how your parts are being made, how they're being tested, and so that there's no dispute kind of after the fact. Right? And then to get to that quality control plan, right, it has been historically kind of tedious. And one of the things we've done is we've helped our customers create these quality control plans in a number of ways. So one of the ways is up here on the screen, which is we help by reading the drawing, and then you can point and click at the dimensions you want to pull into your plan. But if, let's say, your plan was not created from a drawing, it was created from some sort of Word or Excel document, we could import those documents also to get you started into a quality control plan. And then once the quality control person has created a quality control plan, and whether they come to that quality control plan from a drawing or from an Excel spreadsheet or Word document or any other source, typically the next step in sort of the product development process is what's called a first article or a first batch. And so 1factory supports the creation of this first article inspection package. And that package includes all your dimensional measurements, all your raw material certificates, any outside processing certificates, so maybe it's a heat treatment and anodization, and also it includes the balloon drawing if that's needed. And then the output package that 1factory generates can be shared from within 1factory with the customers. The way 1factory is built is it's built in a collaborative manner. So you as the buyer get your account, your suppliers get their accounts. But any work they do, they can make visible to you by just clicking on share. Right? So they can share with you the quality control plans, and they can also, in this case, share with you the first article inspection reports. Now, if your supplier does not have 1-factory or does not use 1-factory, or if your customer doesn't use 1-factory, you can always download that first article package and then email them the zip package. Okay, the next thing we do, you can imagine that once the quality control person has finished up the product development tasks, which includes kind of the quality planning, the first article, and now we are into the ongoing inspection process. So we want to do some incoming inspections, some in-process inspections, and some finished goods inspections. Well, what's common in all of these is we have to collect data. Right, and the data may come from a digital gauge, may just be keyed in, or maybe read from some sort of automated device like a CMM. And we support all of these various types of data entry, right? So if I go back to what made the supplier's life difficult, data management was probably the most difficult thing. And we've kind of worked very hard to simplify that by making sure you can easily and systematically collect the data and manage the data, and always checking against the quality control plan to make sure it's in spec in real time. Right, so here's an example of data collection. The data coming from any source, whether it's coming from directly from a gauge, whether it's keyed in from a barcode reader or from a CMM, it's somehow, you've entered it into the screen here, right? And in real time, we're giving you a run chart, and we're giving you histograms and some statistics. So the factory technician has simple, easy to interpret tools with which he can ensure that what he's making or the process he's monitoring is in control and the products are free of defects. Okay. Next, what we do is, first, like I said, we equip the technician with the tools to do his or her job, and then we roll it up. So once I'm done with one feature, this is a view of all features for that part or for that batch of parts. And now I get my process capability calculation, my CP, CPK, and my PPPK. But with one important addition, and that is we have kind of color-coded to highlight risk. So if your CPK or PPK are less than 1, we flag it as red or high risk of defect. If it's between 1 and 1.33, we flag it as yellow or medium risk of defect. And if it's greater than 1.33, we flag it as green or low risk of defect, right? So now very quickly, without having to look through 1,000 features, right, without having to look through data of 1,000 features, I can very easily identify which features I'm having trouble with. And this, of course, one helps me prevent defects, but also in many industries where they're sensitive to variation between parts. So think semiconductor equipment industry or even the automotive industry, where part-to-part variability impacts the functioning of the product. This helps kind of reduce or provides you the data so you can focus in on the ones where you need to reduce the variation. And once you've identified the high-risk features, you can kind of solve those problems quicker. But now imagine for a minute that you're the factory manager and you're shipping out tens or hundreds of batches per day of different things. How do you as a factory manager know where to look? So what we do is we roll up that feature level defect risk into a batch level defect risk, right? And so we point out for you or highlight for you which batches need your attention. And then you can drill back down to the feature level risk and into that run chart and histogram to see where the problems are. Right, so from this screenshot, you can see that the first 10 don't need your attention, and there are 2 that need your attention, and the next 3 again don't need your attention. Right, so this makes the factory manager's job very easy. Or if you're a supplier quality engineer, receiving a lot of data from your suppliers, from a number of suppliers, you can very quickly identify which batches are coming in need your attention. And then we roll this up one level higher. So we roll this up, of course, at the factory level, but then we also allow you to do this across suppliers. So here's an example. This is a dashboard of suppliers, right? Acme, Baker, Chatsworth, and so on. And for each supplier, we give you kind of a pie chart that shows up or it shows you what fraction of the inspection lots are low risk of defect, medium risk, and high risk of defect, right? And so as the supplier quality engineer, you can now work with your supplier, right, to resolve the ones that are medium or high risk of defect. As part of our product, we also help with traceability. So and what I mean by that is, let's say you've made a batch of products and you want to know which technician worked on that batch of products, or which tools were used, which machines were used, which gauges were used. One-factory records all of that information, right? So here's an example. We've recorded not just the batch number or the lot number in the top left-hand corner, but we've also recorded serial numbers, right? And similarly, we have recorded against each measurement the gauge ID and the operator ID, right, and the time of measurement. So if you have a problem in the future and you want to understand where the problem originated, right, and let's say you narrow it down to a particular operator or a particular gauge, this information will help you bracket the problem, right? And so you can define very clearly which batches could be impacted, and this will help you with things like managing recalls and minimizing the scope of recalls. Now, we also have in the one-factory system, once you're done with your inspections and reporting, we also have non-conformance management. So we've built in NCR processes, CAPA processes, and SCAR processes. And as you can see on here, the CAPA is an example of a CAPA process in the 8D format, from team member assignment to problem definition, containment planning, root cause analysis, and so on. Right? But what we also do, and this is where one-factory and Arena solutions play very well together, is instead of managing this process separately in one factory, we can create the NCR directly from an inspection, but create it in the Arena system. So it can follow your standard non-conformance or CAPA process within Arena. Right? And so I'll hand it back to Anne to kind of walk you through how the Arena solution works.
Sure. So this would be the view for the Arena user, which would typically be quality assurance, engineering, people there. What we have here is, this is a view of the product record. So we have a part number, a description, this is a shippable product, also the bill of materials, an indented bill of materials with all the sub-assemblies and components used to make the product. And it's things that you'd expect to see on the bill of materials. So there's the item, the part number, the description, what life cycle status it's at, quantity, of course. But there's a few other icons here on our bill of material, including working mods. That means there's a proposed change against that part. Where used shows wherever other places that part's used. But this is the most important for today, which is it shows the open quality processes against in this case, against the packaging subassembly. So right now we have 2 quality processes against the packaging. They noticed that the unit was arriving damaged, so we have an 8D process launched in here. And then also there's a corrective action on the LCD screen cracking when it was shipped. Also here in Arena, you can see we have an CMR that was created by one-factory when they were measuring on the floor and it went out of spec. So this NCMR has its own workflow, and right now we're at the point where we're filling out the description. It will get linked with the part itself and become part of the product record. This is the inspection where it went out of spec, so it's red here to indicate, and then the operator pressed on the new NCMR button to successfully create one in Arena. This quality assurance now decided to put together a corrective action on this issue, and they pull all the information together in one view. They took a picture of the problem part, they listed the parts that were involved with the problem. And then they also include that NCMR that was automatically generated from 1-factory. In this case, too, there's other systems that can update Arena, including in this case, there was probably a product that made it out to the field, and the customer called in with a complaint, and that customer support person wrote up a case that we can link to, again, all from this one view. And see how this corrective action process, by the way, has their own workflow. This is the sign-off page of the corrective action. These are the actions that need to be done, including an action by a supplier. And these are the signatures that they collected. So we have some employees who signed off, but also, and this is real typical, is we have our suppliers also involved. You know, not only do they have the action, but they can electronically sign off that they did do the action. So that is a summary of our integration, and it does improve all the quality processes. It simplifies the quality processes from every life cycle phase of a product. So we think this is a very powerful solution. Nipun, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think this is a great slide to kind of end on, and in the sense that if I look at the slide, right, between Arena and 1-factory, we're covering the entire product lifecycle process, as you said, from engineering change order release through the actual creation of the inspection plan, the collection of the inspection data, right? And in the event you have some non-conformances or some, you know, kind of resulting corrective actions, that entire process can be managed in these two systems. And more importantly, the data can be tied back so that the engineers that are designing the new parts actually now have visibility to kind of old non-conformances, kappas, and scars. So it kind of helps, you know, not only speed up the process, but also informs the engineer as the engineer is working on the new design. Right? So we're building a very good or very tight link between the quality and the manufacturing processes.
Right. I should say not only the engineer, but the compliance officers. So if you're a medical device company and you have to maintain a device master record, this is all the information that the FDA inspectors would expect to find in the device master record. Yeah, so it's all in one place. Useful to the company, but also useful to the regulating agencies.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. I think from my observation, you know, about 40% of the time in the QC team is kind of spent on compliance, right? Just creating reports, or making sure data can be found, retrieved at the right time, or preparing for audits and so on. And so this integration really kind of simplifies all of the data management associated with compliance. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening to our audience. And yeah, I think we have one more slide here with some information on how to contact either company if you have any questions or you want to see some more detail about what about the offerings. So thank you very much.